So this afternoon, we're having our news meeting for the show, like we do every day at lunchtime-ish. And while we were meeting, Richard Engel came by. Now, Richard is a world traveler. Literally, that's his job as NBC's chief foreign correspondent. So it's always nice to see Richard here at the office. And we all said, "Hi, Richard, it's great to see you." And then he didn't leave. He was just hanging around while we kept going on with the meeting. So I was like, "Richard, do you want to add something to the meeting here?" And he said, "Yes! Let me tell you what just happened in Iraq. There's this huge deal that just happened." And so he starts talking to all of us about this huge deal, and I noticed that his hand is twitching while he's talking. So I give Richard the pen for the whiteboard, and he proceeds to diagram the huge deal that just happened in Iraq and what it means for the thousands of Americans who are still in Iraq right now and what's going to happen next. He finishes up, this is our news meeting today. We're all totally impressed, and I said, "Man, I wish you could just do exactly that on the show tonight. Everybody who watches our show should just see what you just showed us. That was so amazing." And so we make it so. NBC's chief foreign correspondent, Richard Engel. Richard, thank you for hijacking the news meeting today.
So this is the reward for hijacking your meeting.
Thank you for doing it. It was awesome.
I'm sorry about that. It is really important what happened today.
I want you to just explain the whole thing again. I just want you to go and do it.
Okay. So today they announced the results of the election in Iraq. A very, very important election. Game-changing. Probably the most important thing that happened in Iraq in the last several years. So to understand what happened today and who's at stake, there are four main players, and I think you can see right now, these are the four main players. This is how I put them on your whiteboard today.
Without the pictures.
Without
You're
the
not
picture.
that good, but
so, yes, exactly. Ayad Alawi. He is a Shiite. Oops, that's not, forget the fire.
He's on fire.
No, he's not on fire. No, he is a Shiite.
Okay.
He is secular. That's probably the most important thing to understand him. So let's put that, secular. He is secular, and he is anti-Iran. Right? I'm left-handed, so it's hard to write on these things. If you touch the screen, it's important.
So he's contra-Iran.
So he's contra-Iran. So I'll make that Shiite, secular, anti-Iran. Right? That's a little neater.
Great.
Maliki bloc. Maliki is the government. He is the current prime minister. So he has all of the power of the government behind him. He is also from a Shiite religious party called the Dawa Party.
Okay.
That has had very close relationships with Iran in the past. So it is a more Iran-leading Islamic party, and that has become the party of the state.
Okay.
Then you have a more hardline Islamist bloc, and that is Muqtada al-Sadr and another Hakim family. And that is very close to Iran. That is Iran with a capital, why is it going this high? Iran with a capital... Iran with a capital I, right?
And Muqtada al-Sadr is actually living in Iran.
He is in Iran right now.
Okay.
So if you have the government bloc, and then you have the, let's call it the secular bloc, to make it really simple. And he also has the an alliance with all of the Sunnis.
Okay.
Right? Sorry, things keep coming away here. It's easier on a regular white.
Yes, it's all right.
So
this is cool.
You have a secular party and with
Sunnis
in it. You have the government party that is basically a also has close ties to Iran. Then you have an Iranian Islamic Shiite party, of a Shiite bloc under Muqtada al-Sadr. And then you have the Kurdish bloc. They're just Kurds, just say Kurds. They do their own thing. They've established their own state effectively in northern Iraq. And so that's the political landscape.
Okay, so there's a lot of tiny little parties, but those are the four main
There's other political parties, there's other Kurdish parties, but these are the four main ones. So what happened today? Okay, this is the landscape. Today we saw that Ayad Alawi came out just by a tiny little bit. He emerged in the pole position. First. He was tied with Maliki. And Maliki is disputing the results of the elections. He says that he should have been first. Now, none of them get a majority. None of them have an outright majority. So they're going to have to group together to form a coalition
in order
government.
to figure out who runs the government. Right.
Why is it so important who's first? The important thing is the person who is first, who has the most votes, gets the first opportunity to form a government, right? So if Maliki had gone first, and let's just assume that Maliki had won, and there was a lot of momentum in his way, and a lot of people suggested, and Maliki certainly believes that he should have been number one. What would have happened, most likely, is that Maliki would have formed a coalition with the other three and kept Alawi's bloc out.
And that means that there are no...
That means...
Sunnis.
There are no Sunnis and no secular people in the government.
Okay.
Kurds are secular, but think of them as a Kurdish party serving Kurdish interests. They're really interested in Kurdistan, and the rest can go its own way. That, I think, could have led to increased instability. And a lot of political analysts thought there could have even been war. Because if you're from a Sunni's perspective, you would have looked at this government and you would have said,
there's no place for me.
There's no place for me yet again.
Yeah.
This is another Kurdish government. It is another Shiite government. It is another Iran-leaning government, and I'm out. Instead, something potentially revolutionary happened. You had I'll put a different color here. You had Alawi coming in as #1, and he will probably form a coalition with the Islamic group and with the Kurdish group and keep Maliki out. But Alawi, by being #1, will be the prime minister.
And then you end up with a diverse coalition where everybody feels like they've got some representation. You've got Sunnis, you've got religious Shiites allied with Iran, you've got secular Shiites, and you've got the Kurds.
Exactly.
So it's a recipe for more stability.
It's a secular government, first and foremost. Even though you have Islamists part of it, it is primarily a secular government. It includes the Sunnis, and it is much more American-leaning. Alawi, in general, leans toward Washington. The other parties lean toward Iran. So it is a radically different thing. Because right now the government that's in power, and that has been in power for the last several years, has been a pretty religious, pretty Iran-leaning government that excluded the Shiites.
Wow.
Excluded the Sunnis, rather. And now you're going to have a different kind of government. Includes the Sunnis, secular, leaning toward the U.S.
Briefly, how long will it take for us to know if he's able to form this coalition?
Well, there is a major dispute right now. And the Maliki, the current prime minister, who is still prime minister until a new government is formed, is rejecting the findings of the results of this election. He says he won't accept them. He has 13 days to dispute it. Alawi says already in this next coming week, he's going to start forming a government. So if this period of disputes can get passed and the election results get certified, then it's up to Alawi to form a government.
Wow. Thank you for helping us.
It could be a very big deal.
It could be a huge deal.
Potentially the best news for U.S. troops who need this to work in order to leave.
Yeah, if we're looking at opening up another can of worms and another civil war, then U.S. troops probably have no hope of leaving. If we're looking at stability, more hope that they come home.
So,
Richard Engel.
Tried to recreate it. I had a few teleprompter problems.
No, it's all right. We'll get you better pens.
Yes.
It's great to see you. Thank you, Richard. Thank you so much. That was so cool. Richard Engel is NBC's chief foreign correspondent and our chief telestrator.
I may need some training on that.
That's all right. You're the only one we've got. You don't have any competition.